Welcome in, I'm Artris, and in this video we're going to be going over Vegapunk, a 2-life leader from OP07. I feel like anytime that there's a new set, there's always these random pieces of support that actually help out older decks, and I think for OP13, Vegapunk is one of those decks that actually gets a big boost from some of the cards that come out in OP13. Now, there isn't a huge amount of support that has been given to Vegapunk, but there's 2 cards in specific that really make this deck very viable. But before we go over the deck list, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button. We're very close to 10,000 subs. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord. The link for that is in the description below. If you're unfamiliar with what Vegapunk does, really quickly, we'll go over his effect. He has a couple of weird conditions here. 1, he cannot attack. And then 2, he's a 2-life leader in yellow that says activate main once per turn, pay 1 Dawn, place up to 1 cost 5 or less card with the egghead type from your hand face up on top of your life or into play. So this will allow you to either be really aggressive or play defensively depending on where you place that card. You could usually early game place it on the field so you have a body to swing with. Late game, you're going to be stacking your life to make sure that you don't die. The majority of the core is pretty much the same across the board from previous sets. We'll go over these rather quickly because not much has changed. With Lilith, it's a 3-cost searcher. It looks at the top 5 and grabs an egghead type other than Lilith and puts it in your hand, so it's very nice. The trigger allows you to play this outright from your life. We have Bonnie, a 3-cost, 4,000 power body, Dawn ×1. Your turn once per turn. When your opponent loses a life, draw 2 cards and discard 1 from your hand. One thing to note about Vegapunk is that you burn out really fast because of the fact that you are playing cards from hand onto the field or into life. You don't really have a good draw mechanic, and this Bonnie will at least allow you to replenish your hand or keep your hand at a certain size. The trigger allows you to draw 2 and discard 1, which is really nice to be able to filter out dead cards in the late game. Next, I'm running a playset of Edison. This is a 4-cost, 5,000 power body on play. If you have 2 or less life, draw 2 and trash 2. The trigger is just play this card, so you do get the effect off of that. We're playing for Frankie. It's kind of a vanilla unless it comes out of life. It is a trigger, draw 1 card, and then if you have 1 or less life, play this card. Oftentimes, because you are balancing between 1 to 2 life as Vegapunk, this will be a body to come out of life. Next, I'm running 2 S-Shark. I think this is probably where some list might differentiate. So with S-Shark, I have it in the deck because there's just so many blockers nowadays that you need to be able to bypass them, and S-Shark is a really good way to have a surprise lethal come out of life, or if you play it down and your opponent doesn't answer it, you can bypass big blockers by putting a Dawn underneath this card and attacking with it. The trigger allows it to play itself by trashing a card from hand if you have 2 or less life. So this is a really good card for being able to close out games against decks like Ace. Next up, I'm running 2 S-Hawk. This is in the deck list because I want to be able to have answers against like Green Zoro or any slash type leaders. It says Dawn ×1, while your life total is lower than your opponent's, this character gains plus 2,000 power and cannot be KO'd in battle with slash attribute type cards. The trigger also allows it to play itself, very similar to S-Shark, where you have to trash a card, and then if you have 2 or less life, you can play the card. Those are not necessarily as great as some of just the play the card outright. I don't like having to trash my already low hand size to get these out, which is another reason why we don't have them at a higher total than just 2. Next up, we have a playset of the 5-cost Vegapunk blocker from EBO2. This is a really good support piece that came out rather recently for this deck. It says on play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, play up to 1 cost 5 or lower scientist type character other than Vegapunk, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. And if your opponent has 2 characters or less, discard 1 card. Most of the time, you don't really care. You're just trying to go wide, establish a blocker, and then maybe get another body in the process. If your opponent has 3 or more characters, you don't even have to discard a card at that point, which is really nice. Up next, we have a playset of Atlas, a 5-cost, 6,000 power body. If your life is lower than your opponent's life, this card cannot be KO'd in battle, so very sticky in the early stages of the game, and it has a trigger that if your leader is Vegapunk, play this card. Then we have 4 Shaka. This is a 5-cost, 6,000 power blocker. Trigger, if the leader is Vegapunk, play this card. Very nice to be able to throw down early and have that early aggression with a 6k swing. Then we have 2 of the Monkey D. Luffy 5-cost, 6,000 power bodies. Activate main, you may place this character into your trash, and if your life is 2 or less, KO up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or less characters, then draw 1 card. The trigger is KO up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or less characters. The main thing I'm thinking about here is getting rid of Marcos on the field, so this is very important for that. Sure, your opponent's going to be drawing, but if they're going to be blocking and drawing, I'd rather them not have to block and then just get the block out of the way and then get the draw immediately. So that's why this Luffy's in the deck, to be able to answer a couple of those 4-cost bodies that are rather annoying. For cards a little bit higher in total, 5 to be exact, we have the 5-cost Nami. It's a 5-cost, 5,000 power body that says on play, you may trash 1 card with a trigger from your hand, KO up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 5 or less. Then if your hand has 3 or less cards in it, draw 1 card. The trigger is activate this card's on play effect. You don't actually get a body body off of this, which is the downside here, but at least this is KOing a 5 cost for pretty easily. Just have to discard 1 card and that's it. Now onto some of the new additions here from OP13. We have a playset of a new 5 cost 7,000 power vanilla Shaka. This doesn't have a trigger on it, but this card is insane for what it's trying to do. If you can play this on your turn 1, you are in such an advantageous position because of the fact that you're immediately the next turn swinging with 7. This replaces your leader, so the fact that you can't swing your leader does suck, but of course if you're able to play this out 1 Dawn, 7,000 power, and just start swinging the next turn, it's off to the races, and your opponent will immediately feel that aggression and start to have to figure out what's the game plan. Do they get rid of the Shaka? Do they ignore it and hit your life? And if they hit your life, what kind of triggers are you going to get? So this card is really important to be able to immediately set the tone of, I'm here to bring the aggression. What are you going to do to answer this? So Shaka is such a good card, a great addition. It's so random that it came out in OP13, but I'm happy that it did. And then finally, for a new addition, we have the 9 cost Jewelry Bonnie, which is supposed to be intended for the Bonnie leader, but it also fits within Vegapunk because it says on play, if your leader is Egghead type, this character gains Rush, then your opponent adds the top of their life cards to their hand. The triggers, if you have 1 or less life cards, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 7 or less. So there's a couple things here. One, it's really hard sometimes to close out games as Vegapunk. Maybe you get the opponent down to 1 life and you need to be able to get rid of that last life. This Bonnie is a great way to do it. I only really want to see one of these Bonnies a game. You don't really have too many opportunities to play it. You can either play it on curve on 9, which you're foregoing your leader ability, or you can play it on 10 and be able to get a leader ability off. I do have a playset of it because I do think it's important to see at least once, but of course, this card might not be the best for this deck because you are trying to play as aggressive as possible with the small bodies that you have, but having a larger body to help close out the game is something that Vegapunk has always kind of missed. So this is a great addition to the deck. While your opponent is having to defend all of these smaller attacks and worry about these bodies that are amassing, then they have to worry about this 9 cost Bonnie that comes out, swings immediately, while also ripping a life into the opponent's hand. So that's really great value from this. The trigger is also not bad either, being able to rest pretty much any blocker in the game, bar a couple out there. But I think Bonnie, for the most part, isn't super necessary, but it is a really good addition to the deck and has great synergy. In fact, I actually think it could be a better addition to this Vegapunk deck than it might be in the actual Bonnie deck, but that's something to argue with there. And then finally, I'm playing for Please Save Me, the 1 cost event. This is a counter event that says if you have 2 or less life, give up to one of your leader or characters plus 3,000 power during this battle. By the way, I don't think this is the actual name. I think it's just the name that I have in the sim. I think it's like Quasar or something like that. And then the trigger is play up to 1 cost 5 or lower Egghead type character from your trash. So this can actually help loop some of the cards in your deck, so that if you have a Vegapunk that goes to trash and you put this in life, the Vegapunk can then be brought back out and then also cheat out a body on the on play. So a nice little way to guarantee to at least get a couple of blocks in if your opponent is trying to threaten lethal. For the most part, this deck hits hard, hits fast, and you're trying to end games really quickly. I think with decks that need a little bit of setup, like Emu or even Ace, you might have a slight advantage in the early game and pressure them hard enough that it causes them to play off curve or maybe not play what they want to play on curve, and as a result, you throwing them off their curve, throwing them off with the aggression actually is a pretty good spot to be in for this meta. However, Vegapunk does suffer from being a 2-life leader. Obviously, this is the only leader in the game that has 2 life, so you do have to kind of balance how many hits can you take, when do you need to put a card into life, are you going to die next turn if you don't do that. So some small things to think about here and there. I'll go over a couple of changes at the end of the video, so make sure to stick around for that. But in the meantime, let's take this list into the sim and see how it does. All right, going against blue-green Rosinante, a deck I still always will respect, but I don't see quite often in this meta. This hand is fine. I think it's pretty solid because a lot of what Rosinante does is play these like mid-range bodies until they can land like an 8-cost kid. So having these Namis is really good. Let's go ahead and just establish, I think a Shaka is fine to go ahead and get this out here. It's a pretty strong body to immediately attack with. And then this next turn, what we can end up doing is if we're going to 3, probably just like swing 8 with the Shaka and then play out. Well, now that we drew a Luffy, I think the Luffy's fine here. We can just play the Luffy. Actually, maybe let's see if we can get a swing in and get some damage first before they block with the killer. Let's swing 7 just to like make it a little bit of an option for them to counter out of this. And then we'll deploy this Luffy out onto the field. Now, this makes it a little bit awkward for combat because they're going to want to immediately just snap block with the killer, knowing that this killer is going to be going down with the Luffy effect, unless, of course, they play a different card, a 4-cost character, maybe like a Cavendish. So pretty nice to be able to have that option of Luffy popping either. And we have Nami as a backup as well. So this next turn, what we should do is play out the 3-cost Bonnie unless we get a 3-cost Lilith. 9 into my blocker. That's fine. As against Vegapunk, I'm always trying to get rid of the bodies, so I understand. Let's go ahead and play the Bonnie. Let's use the effect to... we could play the Atlas out, I suppose. We could also just play the Nami, get rid of the blocker, and swing pretty big here. I think that's also fine. And then we'll swing 7 into lead, and then pass the turn. This will require 2 cards from hand. I don't think they want to give it to me, but, I mean, maybe they will because they don't want to go down to 2 life so early. So good to see we got 2 2Ks out of their hand. Very nice there, with one of them being a Tashigi, although I don't think we have anything that can really get rid of any of their green bodies that are, like, bigger than 8, so not really any concern there. The only, I guess, concern to go against with Rosinante is like a smoker. 5-cost smoker is always a pain. Double blocker here. I think that's pretty good for us, right? So we can counter out of this one with a 2K. I think first off, what we can do or should do, let's see what we can get out of them, and then maybe we can switch things around. Let's swing tricky. I think we swing 6 first, just to see if we can get a block, which they should. Okay. Good to see there. Let's go ahead and continue our luck a little bit. Let's pop this, see what we get. Okay. We didn't get anything great to play this turn other than the Shaka we have already in hand. Nice to see there. Hopefully we can hit hard in this next turn with this Nami, because I imagine they're going to counter out of this one because they don't give me any card draw. If that's the case, they're denying me for one swing. But if we can connect with this Nami, which I think swinging 5 here is fine, because what we can do is establish 2 5K bodies in the same turn. So let's go ahead and get the 5-cost Shaka out and the 5-cost Shaka out, and then pass the turn from here. We have 2 cards in hand, but we have a really nice board, and they don't really have anything to really do here this turn other than maybe like Gravity Blade. If they have a Gravity Blade, it actually blows us out. There is the smoker that I had mentioned. Thankfully, they don't have a Tashigi to go along with it. 8 into, I imagine, would be the Bonnie. Yep, we'll let that go. I think it's fine that we don't have that many cards in hand. We want to keep our blocker up just in case. Here, let's go ahead and play the Lilith out, get a search off, and I think we just grab the Bonnie. We'll go ahead and then play out the Nami, pitching the Bonnie. Getting another Nami in the process, really nice for us. And then here, we just swing 7. 7's fine. If they counter out of this one, then we just go another 7. But if they don't counter out, okay, they do counter out of this one. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. I think we just swing 5 here because it's 1 card left in hand. They'll have to give it to us or just like take a life. They take the life. I think we're in a really good spot to just close out the game here. We have the 9-cost Bonnie this next turn. Okay, there's the 8-cost Kid. I don't think they're in a good spot really to play this, but they don't really have too many more options, I would imagine. So they don't even have anything to bring out with the Kid, so it's just an 8K leader for a turn, which is unfortunate for them. We're going to have to let the Nami go, but that's also fine because we're just going to have to play the Bonnie anyway. The Bonnie swinging 10 into 8. Hopefully we'll be able to connect. They also can't use their leader ability here because we just ripped that last life. Then we'll go 5, 5, 7, 7, and that's enough to close out the game. So we'll just do the formalities here. This is how I'd play it in a tournament instead of just like swinging the 7s here, but okay. They were just bricked up at the end anyway. Yeah, we started hot and then we just kept the aggression the entire time. Blue-green, Zoro and Sanji, another kind of flavor of the month deck. They choose to go second, and we're going first with this amazing hand. We have 2 of the new Shaka to be able to immediately start swinging for 7. We really like to see this against 5K leaders. Obviously, you want to see it in general, but it's really effective against 5K leaders immediately. So we're going to go ahead and just deploy the Shaka out and pass the turn. Here, they can probably play like a Searcher or maybe a Blocker. Perona Searcher, what will they grab with it is the good question. Arlong. That is not necessarily great against me because of the fact that I just don't swing ever with my leader. So yeah, that's the one that if they discard a card, opponents' rested leaders cannot attack. Well, not attacking anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Then they have the 4-cost Zoro that restands Dawn. Pretty solid card there. Here, I think we just swing 9, and then we use our leader ability to bring out the other Shaka and watch as all of their hope fades away. Having to deal with 2 7K bodies immediately. It's not necessarily what they'd like to do, and they can't even answer them effectively until at least 2 more turns when they're on 8 Dawn, because if they have a Grav Blade, they can answer it, but by then, I'm going to amass at least 2 more bodies, probably more. So let's see what they have here. They could go a straight, like, just 9 into the Shaka, but I don't think they're going to do that. Yep, an Uta, which This is an on-play set up to 2 of your Dawn cards is active, then you cannot play characters with the base cost of 5 or more. On KO, play up to 1 character card with the 5 cost or less from your hand is rested. Okay, we're going to protect this. We'll just give him 1k here. Which one do we protect is a good question. We could also just give him an Edison. All of these cards in our hand are solid. I think we might just give him an Atlas, but it's kind of hard to say. I think the Atlas is a strong card to play this next turn. We drew into one that's fine as well, so not punished there. I actually don't think we get rid of this Uta because the Uta could bring out a 5-cost Sanji, like the 5/7, and I don't want that to be brought out for free. So I'm okay with them just swinging 5 every turn with this Uta instead of having them swing 7. Let's put a Dawn underneath this Bonnie, swing 7 into lead there. We do get a draw, which is really nice. We'll just drop one of the Luffys here, and then I'm going to go ahead and cheat out the other Luffy from my hand. And I think this is... No, I think the shock is probably fine instead. What we can do next turn is kind of see what they do, because I don't want them to, like, react to me playing a Luffy. If I play a Luffy out, maybe they play a little bit differently. Who knows? But this next turn, what we can do is surprise them with a Luffy and Nami if we need to. I don't think we need to get rid of the Uta, though. I think we just need to get rid of this new Sanji. And as I thought, they had a Sanji in hand, so that would have come out if we did get rid of the Uta this past turn. So nice to see there. It's a really good card. On play, set up with 2 of your Dawn cards as active. End of your turn, if your leader has the Film or Straw Hat crew type, set up to 1 of your Dawn cards as active. So very nice card here, especially for Zoro and Sanji. I haven't actually seen this ran too often in this deck list, but it makes sense. It actually does make a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and just block this one for free and see what they do from here. They have 3 Dawn remaining. They could put it all on their leader and then just looks like they might be swinging into my blocker. And that's fine. We just let this one go. You know, it is what it is. We didn't lose any life in the process. We lost a body. It sucks, but hey, we'll move on from here. We will play this Nami out this next turn. Oof. 2Ks is not exactly what I want to see, but it is what it is. I think what we have to do here, let's go ahead and just swing 5 first with this Bonnie. See what we can get. See if we can take a life from them and get our draw. Because I want to see more options here. Not exactly happy with what we have in hand other than the Nami. I want to see if I can get maybe a better card as well. Maybe something to pitch with the Nami instead. So let's see what they do here. They counter out of this one. That's good. That's good they're counting out of this one. It's good for them. Not good for me. Let's go ahead and just do the Nami effect. Get rid of the Sanji, draw a card off the process. And we drew into a Vegapunk. Really nice to see that there. Although it is a little bit of a waste because we do have a full board. Let's see if maybe we can get more options because we still haven't hit life. Let's go ahead and just toss one of the Vegapunks into the trash. We can always get it back with the Please Save Me event. Let's go ahead and just play this Vegapunk outright, and we are able to get a Shaka, which will play over the Bonnie. So we actually did get a good body on top of that. So really good position to be in here. I don't know how they come back. There's these 3 7s, and then they also have to deal with this Nami, and I have a blocker on the field and then 2 2Ks in hand. I really don't envy them in this position. I do like this deck list that they're running. I like the film package in here. I think it's pretty solid, but unfortunately for them, we're just so fast that we're about to end the game on turn 5, basically. So yeah, by the time they get to 10, or even before they get to 10, right? Oh man, that 9-cost Bonnie. So good. We can block this hit with the Vegapunk, and then play out the Bonnie, rip that last life, and then have a bunch of swings come in. So this is game over. We've played it pretty tight. The Arlong not doing anything here, of course. I think they're not even going to get their leader ability off. It's okay. I think this is a misplay on their part, but at this point, the game's also over, and I think they realize it. So yeah, they had 2 2Ks in hand and a 1K coming out, so there's no way that they would have been able to survive all those hits. Insane. Roger's a really tricky matchup for us. We have to play aggressive early, which is the game plan against Roger anyway, and then hope to be able to hold on to at least one 5-cost 7,000 power Shaka, because once they hit 10 Dawn rather, and they're a 7K leader, it's really hard for us to swing with the rest of our bodies. We have to put Dawn on them. We don't want to have to tax ourselves. Having the Shaka be out there and just swing naturally is really nice. Of course, if they are playing like 9-cost Newgate or 8-cost Roger, then that's a different story. Do they swing? They're swinging. Wow. And we get a body on top of that. Really nice to be able to get that trigger here. I have not had any luck getting trigger bodies off the first hit, unfortunately, for a lot of my games. So good to see that. And of course, Roger is a 5K leader for the next couple of turns, so this Edison will be able to swing just outright. What do we do? I think we just swing 7. We could swing like 7 or 8. Doesn't really matter too much. I think they're both likely to connect. And then we'll go ahead and just, I guess, bring out this Luffy just in case they want to establish a body this next turn. That way we can at least get a swing in with the Luffy and then pop the Luffy to get a card draw. I think that's pretty valuable overall. There's a bullet. I'm very happy getting rid of this Douglas bullet. 6 and a 5. We'll go ahead and give him a 2K. And then we're in a really strong position. I probably shouldn't have just swung with the Shaka first. I'm just like happy to, like, trigger happy to just start swinging. But let's go ahead and just start swinging 7s then. They took that 1-7. Love to see it. And then could we be aggressive here? I think we might be able to. Let's go ahead and just get rid of the Douglas bullet. I think we just swing 9 here. There was a play where I could have played out 2 more bodies this turn, but I think it's fine. I think we just want to push them down to a very low life total right before they hit their 7K lead. So that's really important, in my opinion, is getting them down to 1 life when they start playing these turns where they have these big bodies coming out. So yeah, Newgate coming out is a pain. Let's just go ahead and snap block that. We want to keep this Shaka alive. We might actually have to, with this Bonnie in hand, I kind of want to reconsider, but I think we just swing really big with this Shaka. We kind of just turn our brain off and go all in here. We'll use our leader ability to bring out another blocker, and then what we can do from there is have 1 open for the Quasar event. So that way we can hopefully protect this the 7K Shaka with just 1 card. Or maybe 2 cards, rather. It's a plus 3,000. So let's see here if they just swing a baseline Newgate 10 into 7. I will have to give them 2 cards. That is something to keep note of. We could also just block and see what they do, but I think we'll just go ahead and play it safe and counter out. And then what else could they do? They might have, they could block her up. I don't really have a way to get past any of their blockers because I think they do run Odin from time to time at 5 costs. So if I do draw into a Nami, I can answer it. If they play Uta out, I don't have a way to answer that. So hopefully they don't play an Uta. Hopefully they don't have blockers. Doesn't look like they have blockers. They're just going to be swinging another 10 into 7. And I'm going to go ahead and block that one. Here, we're just going to go for game. I'm just going to go 17 into 9. I don't think they have it. I think at this point, it's a bluff. It might be close, but I think 17 should get us across the finish line. Usually Roger doesn't have that much counter. They usually have a couple of bricks in hand. So we'll see if they have it. They're starting to counter. They didn't instantly concede. Oh, there's 1Ks. We might actually have it. We might have it. Oh, 0 cost event. We might not have it. If they have a 2K, we actually lose this game. Okay, so they didn't have it. They did have pretty much everything they needed for the rest of the late game, but we put them down to 1 life, so they couldn't even get to the late game safely. All right, going against Emu here. They choose 2nd, as to be expected. This hand is really good for us. We have a great opening play with this 7K body. We'll pass a turn, and then this next turn, we can establish either the blocker Shaka or the Atlas. I think Atlas is probably a fine option because we're going to be a lower life total than them, so at least they won't be able to swing into it and KO it. Here, let's just swing 9. They could counter out, but I don't think they want to give us 2 cards on the first turn for them. So let's take life. Let's give them life. And then we'll play out the Atlas and then pass the turn from there. Usually, Emu is not going to want to take these hits, but of course, a 9K swing on the first turn is really difficult for them to at least come out of. So this next turn, we're actually in a very commanding position because we have the Lilith ready to go. We can search and then use our leader ability. So we're going super wide. We'll likely, 5 and a 5, we're taking it, and we get an S-Shark. Let's use the trigger here to discard. I think probably S-Hawk is fine. Get the S-Shark out, and they instantly concede. Wow, we were going to be 5 wide next turn, so yeah, it was pretty much over at that point. Against Ace, they choose 2nd, and of course, we love this hand. Going first, we're going to just get this 7K body off the rip, just be able to start swinging in hard and heavy. This next turn, I think we just swing 9. They'll probably put a Dawn under their leader, and then they'll take some damage, draw some cards, do some Ace things. Love to see it. They grab a Red Rock with that. Not really great against my deck. Wow. Okay, so they played 2 Searchers. I do see Ace players sometimes do this where they play out 2 Searchers to begin with. They don't put the Dawn under their leader, and they defend the first hit. Let's make them have to defend this with 2 2Ks or a leader ability and a 2K. This early on, they don't want to really do that, but they will if they need to because they are not getting value off of their leader ability. So if they, I guess it doesn't really matter. If they take the hit or if they counter out, I think we still play the blocker Shaka just in case because there's always a world where they forego their 4-down turn and just swing really big into my Shaka. And I want to be able to keep this thing on the field. So let's go ahead and play out the blocker just in case. If they don't do that, If they swing life, great for us. That means we have 2 bodies to swing with this next turn. They're swinging life. I love this. We get a Lilith trigger off the top. I think we just grab a 2K because our hand is looking a little bit light on counter power. And then from here, they do play the Marco. Good to see. I don't want to just give them card draw off the bat. It's kind of a pain, but I think, well, let's see what they do. Let's swing just like baselines first. See how they react. There's a world where we swing 8 with the Shaka, but I think we just swing with our blocker Shaka 6 into 6 first. These little chip swings are really annoying to have to deal with. Obviously, you're going to have to give cards, and then also you're going to have to use your card for a leader ability. They could immediately just block with the Marco. There's a couple of things that we could do here. We can play out the Vegapunk and get full value of it. They might just use the Ezo as well and trash the Ezo so we don't actually get the full value of Vegapunk. If they do that, then I don't think we play the Vegapunk, or at least we think twice about it. Okay, so they do it. We're going to think twice about playing the Vegapunk blocker out and instead see what we can do here. Maybe we play a Nami. Maybe we cheat. They take the life. Ooh. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Red Rock, trigger, and life. Usually they run 2, and there's 1 in hand, 1 in the life. So unlucky. I think we just play out the Nami for cheap. It sucks, but I think we have to do this. KO the blocker and then just swing 11 into 6. They'll likely go down to 1 life this early, and I don't think they want to counter out of this, or should, to be fair. But also, they're not getting value. They didn't get the extra card draw off of taking life both times, and they didn't get any extra card draw off the Marco. So very good turn for us to at least minimize the amount of cards that they have in hand. If we need to, we have this 9-cost Bonnie to close out the game. But we might not even need to get there, to be quite honest. 1 life left. We have 3 bodies wide, and this turn is probably going to be a Jozu turn. If I were them, I would swing 6 into my blocker, Jozu, the 7k body back to hand, and pass the turn. Not great, but at least it's like bouncing something, removing some threats. So yeah, let's see what they do though. Let's see if they have the right curve right now. Swinging 6 into Shaka as expected. I think we just give him a 2k because I want to keep this Vegapunk in hand. And it's fine to have the Edison go. Yeah, as imagined, the Jozu comes out, bouncing the Shaka back. I think what we could do here, we could swing 8, but I actually think just swinging 6 is fine. Once again, swinging these baselines, always slightly annoying. When they have this many cards in hand, when they have, what is it, 8 cards in hand, these baseline swings aren't that great. When they have like 4 or 5 cards in hand, they're really good. But of course, we do need to get their hand size a little bit lower. And I don't necessarily want to take this last life. I want to be able to play out the 9-cost Bonnie and surprise them with it and get the value there. But if they take this life, then great. If they don't, which I highly doubt they will, even better for us. We can also play out this Vegapunk. We'll have to pitch a card because they only have 1 body on the field, and I think we also play out the Shaka. So that way we go pretty wide. Hopefully we can get another 7k Shaka off of this Vegapunk blocker. They give us an Atmos for that. Pretty nice to see. And then here we'll swing another 6. Likely get another card out of hand, and then we'll play out the Shaka. Then we will play out the Vegapunk, grabbing... I guess Lilith is the only option, so let's go ahead and get this search off. We'll pitch a 2k counter. Let's see if we can just replace it. Yeah, we'll just grab an Edison. Not the best use of the turn. These 5k bodies aren't great, especially when I'm going to be going into a Bonnie turn, because that means that we're not really getting too many swings off. We likely won't be able to guarantee a lethal, but we will pressure them pretty hard at least. So here, I think we just block with the Vegapunk outright. Like, doesn't matter what we do or what they do. I think we just block. I imagine an I Am Whitebeard turn this turn. They're going 7 into lead. I think we just block. It doesn't look like an I Am Whitebeard turn. Very strange. What else could they have on 8? Did they actually miss a curve? They missed a curve. Oh my gosh. We have a shot. We have a shot. 8 into lead here. I'm just going to take this. There's a Quasar event. We can then cheat out this Vegapunk that just blocked for us. And we get another blocker on top of it. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and get this blocker out. Another 6k attacker for the next turn. And it looks like they just concede because at this point, they don't win. We block with the Vegapunk, and then we just swing with a bunch of small bodies. We don't even need the Bonnie to close out the game. If you can't tell, this video is probably a little bit shorter because the games obviously went pretty quick based off of just the play speed of Vegapunk. I'm a little bit disappointed I couldn't find another Emu in the span of just me playing over tonight, but in the one Emu game, obviously they like instantly conceded, which I guess is not a great representation of how it will actually be, but I think to be fair, at that point the game was kind of done. So within 2 turns, we were already in an advantageous position to be able to just like close out a victory pretty soon. So Vegapunk does do that. It can high roll in those situations. Of course, if you go go second, though, in other games, maybe you don't get to high roll as much. If your opponent wants to take first from you, which a lot of decks want to go second in this meta, then you're kind of in an awkward spot. So Vegapunk kind of fits this weird niche where a lot of decks want to go second, Vegapunk wants to go first. Vegapunk plays a really big body like a 5'6" or a 5'7" and immediately starts swinging. Your opponent kind of has to just react to that. And you are putting your foot on the gas. You're the one leading the aggression. I think Vegapunk is a pretty solid deck overall. I wouldn't be surprised if some people have this as like a niche pick to bring to like a regional or something like that. I don't know if it's going to be amazing, but I do think that this deck is worth respecting. Now, for some of the cards I would change here, I think overall I'm pretty happy with what we have and the ratios overall, but there is a new 1-cost Lilith Searcher that came out, and I think that's probably a solid choice as well. You might want to put this into the deck outside of this 3-cost Lilith. Of course, I like this being able to have a body to swing with, but this one has a counter, and they're basically the same thing. They look at well, this one looks at top 4, the other one looks at top 5. This one has a counter, and also, you know, it doesn't have a body to swing with, so pick your poison, but this is an option to at least put in the deck instead, or it doesn't even have to be instead. It can also just be something you put into the deck along with this other Lilith. They don't grab each other, so keep that in mind, but I'm pretty happy with the rest of the deck list overall. What do you guys think about Vegapunk? Let me know in the comments below. What other spicy additions to the deck list do you have that I might not have included? I'd love to hear from you guys. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.